gentlemen, we got a brand new Voice of the Community video coming at you guys today. Lots of stuff going on in Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. We have got Inquisitors rounded out. 5 Inquisitors with the Grand Inquisitor on the way. How are we feeling about that currently? We've got 3v3 Grand Arena coming up and a plethora of other issues to discuss in Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. And I don't even know what the community wants to talk about today, but we have got a couple community members in right now that have subjects they want to bring up, and so we are going to get right into that. There may be more, but today we may just have a brief episode of Voice of the Community. So we're going to start with one of the longest term members of the Cubs fam. You guys know him, the Sex Panther himself.
It's called Sex Panther by Odeon. It's illegal in 9 countries.
Nemesis. How you doing, Nem?
Hey, Cubs, I am good. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, it's great to have you, man. So tell me what's on your mind today.
So for me, it is the Omicrons and the way that they are releasing them throughout the game right now. So if you look at the current Omicrons that we have, all of them are either just on characters that are newly released or on older characters that had absolutely no use before.
Mm-hmm.
And so my issue with that is I understand why they're doing that, and I'm okay with trying to make some of the older, more worthless characters, give them a little bit of viability somewhere. But what I would really like to see is a couple Omicrons come out that go on to characters that are already currently viable in order to make them just a step up so that they could be that, real GL challenger. From a perspective of, like the Revens or CLS squads, adding an Omicron somewhere within there that would take those squads to that next level where you could really get them to be able to fight off a GL.
That's a really good point you bring up, and I'm pulling up now the Omicron report on .gg here. And that does seem to be the current state of Omicrons. I mean, probably some of the better Omicrons you see, like Qui-Gon Jinn, not really viable before that. It did bring him into viability, and I love them doing that. Wampa is another one where, I mean, we were getting use out of Wampa, but now it's like you're really getting use out of Wampa. Zam, kind of similar. Probably wasn't the number one go-to bounty hunter, was she? And now she's in almost every bounty hunter squad. And then all of the other ones are, less known or less used characters like Rose Tico, new characters like Starkiller Dash, Talon, Starkiller Gin, Kyle Katarn. Yeah, you're right. It's all either obscure characters or brand new characters. And so you view that as a problem.
Great to the community, right? Yeah, exactly. I think that's a problem because if you're a character or a player that doesn't necessarily have a whale account where you have characters like Princess Leia or Akbar or the Ewoks ready to go, it would be nice if you could have a character that is already good that you could get to that next level, because I think that in doing that, what you're going to be able to do is make it so that in lower brackets, so like below the Kyber levels where you have a lot of complaints of people going, well, I only have 1 GL or no GLs and I'm going against someone with 3 or 4, you would be able to bring that competitive balance back because you're going to have someone that could use a Jedi Revan squad that they can put that Omicron onto, and now all of a sudden they have something that they can use as more viability to try to take down a GL.
Wouldn't that be nice, too, if you could have the option? I mean, how fast would you slap an Omicron on a Jedi Revan or a Darth Revan squad to make that team instantly viable against Galactic Legends? And here's another thing I'm noticing, Nem. I don't know if you realize this, but there's 17 Territory Wars Omicrons now. 17. And I think the fifth brother got a Territory Wars Omicron, right?
He did.
So that's actually 18. Territory Wars Omicrons. There's only 14 Grand Arena Omicrons. I find that really surprising that they're actually putting more Omicrons right now on Territory Wars characters than they are on Grand Arena characters. And I would say, I mean, Nem, tell me if you agree, but I feel like the community interest is going to be a lot more heavily weighted on Grand Arena Omicrons than Territory Wars Omicrons.
Yes. Well, so here's what I think they're trying to do. While the Grand Arena Omicrons are great for an individual perspective, if you were looking at some of the more stale game modes, Territory Wars definitely jumps up to the top of that list for me. So I think that by starting to release more Territory War Omicrons, that's how they're trying to spice up what is a stale and pretty much dead game mode, unless if you're in an ultra competitive Territory War guild. So kind of like how they used to have the factors that would go in for some of those. I think that's why they're trying to release more Territory War Omicrons, is in order to spice up what's a dead area. But yeah,
I don't think it's working.
I mean, it's not, but you do have some guilds that are going out and putting in more Territory War Omicrons as a result of how many are coming in and are more OP. So I can understand why they're doing that. I'd like to see Omicrons that traverse more than just one game mode, which they kind of alluded to in Grand Inquisitor. So I'd really like to see what his Omis bring to the table.
Right.
But because then, for me, I feel like having an Omicron that's in one game mode only, that might be just Territory Wars, that you have 4 of them a month, I'm not really getting the full use out of what is a huge, I guess, cost in order to bring them in. I mean, Omicrons are so limited that I want to use it more than 4 times a month.
And I love that notion. I've talked about that with Heinze a lot. Is it's not just Territory Wars, it's how much use you get out of it. You know, I may care a lot about Territory Wars, but ultimately, am I going to spend thousands of dollars and all of my Omicrons on a brand new Inquisitor squad that I only get to fully take advantage of 4 times a month? Here's an interesting comment too that I want to throw on the screen. Caesar Flip says Caesar Rip thinks that they might be preparing for a huge change in Territory Wars. Any thoughts on that, Nem?
I mean, I could see them making changes to it, but they've already made changes with releasing R9 mats through it, by increasing the number of defenses that are in there, by adding so many Territory War Omicrons. I don't see how they would be able to make a huge change beyond that. I mean, it's a pretty stable sort of game mode that, if you're going to be making massive changes to it, is it even going to be Territory Wars anymore? And by making those changes, is it going to lessen the Omicron abilities of it? So I doubt that they're going to do that, because they're not going to want you to spend your Omicrons just for a month or two to go, well, we're completely restructuring the way Territory War works, and it's going to make a third of the Omicrons that you put on effectively worthless.
Good point. Well, Nem, I appreciate your perspective. Thanks for coming on and talking about Omicrons with us today. I hope you have a great day.
You too. Thanks for having me.
You bet. All right, the Sex Panther Nem joining the chat today, ladies and gentlemen. Always fun to have Nem on. Now, our next caller is the one and only Home Slice, who I actually sang in choir with in college. What's going on, Home Slice?
Hey, Cubs. Good to talk to you, brother.
It's good to see you, buddy. You're driving somewhere today, huh? Where are you?
Driving.
Where are you on the road?
So yeah, I've got a family friend who's deaf and autistic, and once a week I hang out with him and just, we go play racquetball, and I take him to the gym, and we go play frisbee golf and longboarding, and just gets him out and doing some activities. So,
oh my gosh, that's
fun.
Awesome. Good for you, man.
Yeah, he's a good kid.
That sounds like an awesome way to spend your day. Good for you. All right,
yeah.
We got subs coming on the screen. Thank you very much. Jedi Rules. Tell me what's on your mind, Home Slice.
Okay, so I got a little bit of speculation, a little bit of tea leaves, and something that I personally like I'm super passionate about and want in the game.
Okay.
And maybe I could see them working on it a little bit, or at least the potential of it. So
We love
I'm not saying this is
speculation in the fam.
exactly what they want, but this would be awesome. So there's an idea that I've had, and they played it out with all of the YouTubers between the YouTube versus dev competition of this like idea of a quick play GAC. That's what I call it, a quick play GAC. And the changes that they had a few months ago, where everyone felt like, okay, these are good changes in the right direction, but they're not enough, felt kind of reminiscent of a couple years ago when there was the big lull of 2019 where there wasn't like anything going on in the game, right? And in a sense, like, okay, they were working on that massive project of switching from one software to another, right, or whatever they called it.
Yes.
And that took, I felt like an entire year where there just wasn't anything going on. Like the highlight of the year was Darth Vader's rework. Like
that was a very dark year of news. Yes.
Yeah. So, okay, now hear me out. They made change. They added the ability finally, that should have been from the very start, but they finally added the ability to update our rosters.
Okay.
And I feel like that technology is like the first step in a direction for a quick play GAC.
Quick play GAC.
Quick play GAC.
Let's go.
So we get on. Yeah, and I freaking love this idea. I'm super passionate. I'm like shaking right now. So the idea is you get on,
you nerd,
and you jump in a lobby. I know I'm a nerd, but just there's so much potential with this quick play.
Yeah.
Because the setup of this game at the moment is a collector's game. It's very passive. Like everything about it is okay. You have 24 hours, to set it, and that's great. Like for what the game, it's fulfilling it's a toilet game, what everyone says, right?
Poop game. It's a poop game.
A poop game.
Let's be honest.
Exactly.
Play while you poop.
Play while you poop.
I play while I poop. You play while you poop. If you have not pooped and done Galaxy of Heroes, then I consider you not a Galaxy of Heroes player.
Yeah, you're not actually playing the game.
If you have not had the sheer joy of putting a Zeta mat on a character while excreting dark matter, you are not a Galaxy of Heroes player.
Amen, brother. Preach. All right. So, okay, hear me out. So, quick play provides the potential for like consistent gameplay that doesn't need necessarily a reward incentive, but the incentive of the gameplay is the enjoyment of the game itself.
Right.
And beyond that, it provides potential for an eventual actual competitive professional community that you could do like esports and stuff.
Right. I've always felt like there is an esports potential that this game has with Grand Arena that Capital Games is severely missing out on. And we really saw them kind of dabble in that a little bit with the community versus devs GAC, which I think was a smash hit. And I don't know why they haven't done it again.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to spend an hour a day instead of looking at how good looking at how well my characters can spin. I'd much rather get in and say, okay, I'll jump in on a lobby. I'll wait. I'm willing to wait a few minutes in order to match up with somebody that maybe there's some kind of ladder set or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
That the matchmaking would be kind of interesting, but I would be willing to jump in on the lobby and be like, okay, I have 5 minutes to set my defense, or like 3 minutes or 2 minutes. Like you got to have that kind of idea. It's very quick. And then you have either a certain amount of, like they said it just like the speed GAC or quick play GAC. And then that would fulfill the need of a sandbox mode 100%. Because you could get in there, and I would want to do it, be able to have something where you could get in and play random people, as well as a way that you could play your guild mates or allies. That way you have the ability to play with people that you know, and you can intentionally match up and practice or do something like that. And then also a way that you could just match up randomly. Because if you're always trying to match up with somebody that you know, you're not going to get diversity. You're not going to get changes. You might not get some new idea that nobody in your community has thought of, you know?
Right.
So, and then also, like, sometimes you just want to be able to play by yourself without having to talk to a mate, you know?
I love this idea. I almost called you by your real name. Sorry, I don't mean to dox you.
Yeah, you're fine.
I love this idea, Home Slice. And I think it's something we've talked about a lot. I don't know if that's what they're doing. I don't want to have too much faith or get too excited about this because it's just something that we've asked for so long and we just haven't seen. But I'm going to take it and say there might be something there. There might be something there that them putting in the squad feature the way that it is right now could be a precursor to something more with GAC. At a minimum, I would love to see maybe it's something that activates during the off weeks for GAC so that we can go in and get some practice in between rounds.
Yeah, certainly. And here's the last item.
Okay.
And I kind of brought this up a little bit, but the point of this is it doesn't necessarily have to have anything to do with rewards. I mean, you could find something where, like, at the end of a month, kind of a seasonal thing in the way that GAC runs right now. But it doesn't even have to be, like, it doesn't have to incentivize anybody to even want to cheat. You know, it's purely for the gameplay and interaction with the game. And yeah, that makes it more difficult from a monetary standpoint. But if you took a long-term idea that this is providing an avenue for a professional environment and getting a lot more eyes on the game, and you could make money besides just the pocketbook of the person that's coming into play, like it provides the potential of a much greater business model, I think that would make it valuable for them. So
I think right now, I do not think that CG is convinced that we would play a game mode that did not provide rewards.
Because the whole model of this game isn't like that.
Yeah. And I am not convinced that a lot of people widespread would either, to be honest with you. I know I would if it was GAC. It sounds like you would, and I think a lot of people here in the chat with us probably would because we're the most hardcore players, but it just might not have that widespread appeal. And so I find it, if they do it, I think they likely would do it and find a way to include rewards. But I could be wrong. I think it would be a thrill if they created a game mode that was just for the pure sheer love of the game and nothing more and no rewards involved. I would be down.
Yeah. And I could talk a lot more about this. I feel like how you would make it that way. I mean, consider, like, what if you had, okay, but I've talked about this a lot more, but there's a lot more ideas of how you could make it possible. But I was looking at those changes that they made a few months ago and thinking, you know what? Maybe that could be the step in the right direction. At least they're creating the technology to make it possible. So maybe we'll see.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Yep.
All right, my dude. Thanks for coming on, Home Slice. It's so good to talk to you, man. Have a good day.
Good to talk to you too. All right, see ya.
All right, we've got one final caller, Plague, jumping in. Plague, say hello. You're on mute.
Hello.
Where are you calling from, Plague, and what are you calling about?
Houston, Texas.
All right. Are you an Astros fan? Because I don't know if you know, they're a bunch of cheaters.
Listen, I honestly, I could care less about the Astros. I'll be honest.
There we go. I'll take it.
Calling about ships. Love them, hate them.
This is my favorite subject.
The community's a little bit divided on them, wouldn't you say?
A bit, yeah.
So one of the things I was looking at was, well, last year we got Executor, right?
Right.
I just got it. I've been having a lot of fun. Been testing it out on both Mirror and crushing Negotiators, Malevolences, and Fleet Chart. So that's been a lot of fun. But when it comes to like GAC, I'm just throwing on defense and going, all right, bye. But then I look at, okay, well, what has CG done this year? Well, they've given us buff to Radis, Finalizer, and the Chimera, which was interesting.
Right.
And it leads me to wonder, well, is this going to be finally the year of the ships? And will they potentially look at increasing ships from single shard to double shard drop?
Ooh. Yeah.
Because, I mean,
yeah.
let's be honest, right? It takes 5-6 months to farm a ship. So if you started a new ship farm starting May, you're not going to see a return on it till September.
Right.
Like that is a tough pill to swallow, especially for new players or even mid-tier players, that you got to spend that much time on one farm. And when you got like, oh, well, I'm going to start farming, Galactic Legend or whatever project, it takes forever for ships. It does.
I was always very intrigued when they first came out with the increased shard rates. I was very confused at why they didn't do that for all ships or for ships too. I don't really get it. Like, what's the logic? And so I would love it if they introduced that idea to ships as well. So I think that's very plausible, especially at some point. But it doesn't seem like they're keen on doing it just yet. So hopefully soon. I like it.
True. And then what we've seen some, with like the finalizer, seems like it can counter Executor. Are you seeing that on your end at the top end?
Finalizer countering Executor is possible. I don't think it's necessarily the most reliable, but then again, I don't think there is a most reliable counter for the Executor. I personally have found the most success using my Malevolence. And that's been probably 75% effective for me lately.
So talking to you then, what do you think would make players enjoy ships more? Would it be having more counters to the top end? Would it be having a more fair meta? Would it be having content like, well, you hate to hear it because it gets said again and again and again, but that's not right, or something similar?
Yeah, I think we need more fleets, and I think that accelerated farming would help, and I like more crewless ships as well. I think one of the things that they went wrong with on ships to begin with was that people had to sacrifice their farming of characters to farm ships, and we just, even at the very beginning of the game when they first released ships, we were already so bought in on characters that there were just so many people that were just so kind of begrudgingly farming ships and the characters that go along with them because we kind of had to, but really didn't want to. Whereas if that was completely separated and divided out from the beginning, I think we would have seen a very different community response to ships if they could have farmed ships without having it be at the expense of their characters. And so I think more crewless ships, I think more ships, more complete fleets, and accelerated farming are probably the three things I think need to happen.
Sure. No, I get that. I find it interesting that you're still on the crewless ships when CG is introducing for like the Riders and Finalizer crew ships. So, but they're part of the farms. It's not like they're characters that you wouldn't farm with a Galactic Legend. So it's not like, oh, they're going to release a Red 5, but
and that's better. Luke. I mean, if they're giving us a ship that we've already got the character probably farmed, then that's one thing. That's not as bad as saying, hey, here's a ship piloted by Cup, which would suck. But I still feel like I like the idea of crewless ships better. I like a ship that I can just farm the ship and I don't have to worry about where my character's at to have the ship be viable.
The problem with that, though, is they still haven't addressed the fact that it's basically capped at R7 in value, basically.
And that's something else that needs to change. Yeah, the power cap needs to increase for crewless ships because there's nothing you can do. And they better not do that in a way that looks like ship mods.
Sure.
So, I don't know. I'm going to be honest with you, my friend. I do not believe that CG has the capacity to make ships right. There's so few moves they've made with ships that have improved the game mode, in my opinion. So it just seems like a game mode that stays dead in the water, or something changes and it makes things worse. Like, I mean, the biggest change we've had to ships in recent memory is the Executor. and the executor has definitely not improved the environment for ships. I think you would probably agree.
And adding three fleets needed for Kyber.
Yeah, tell me the last positive ship change other than just introducing more ships, which has been positive, but they kind of, took a step forward with adding new ships and then 2 steps backward by increasing the ship cap to 3. So who knows? But anyway, Plague, I want to thank you for coming on, man. Thanks for making me talk about ships again.
I'm sorry to bring it up.
No, it's a beam. All right. Have a good one, my dude. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to wrap it out for another great Voice of the Community video. If you guys want to participate in these, be sure to come check out my Twitch streams, twitch.tv/CubsFanHan. And as always, my brothers, don't forget,